like I had the lotto. I'm coming through like 100 doing this 1 or 2s. You don't know if the smoke from the gun I told, from the blunt I blew. Got them sick as the flu, but this she be humming too. Got your chicken in here and she think it's the tension in here. When the enemy near, what the you wanna do? I'm a G.
Yes, indeed. We in full effect for the AM show. Welcome to the No Picks AM radio show. I'm here with my dog, Just A Davis. How you doing this morning, brother?
Good, dog. Feeling blessed on a good Monday morning. You heard me?
Yes, indeed, man. I'm coming off a wild weekend myself. I haven't been to sleep yet. But shout out to everybody in morning traffic. Shout out to everybody who's getting ready to take their kids back to school and regain some of their summer freedom. So we're gonna talk about the HNIC, Joe Dumars, and some of the comments he made to Rod Walker and the Times-Picayune addressing this off season. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I see my dog 2S King in the building doing his thing early. Shout out to everybody heading into work. Make sure y'all drive safe. I'm hoping y'all got the notification and y'all can click on the video. Be sure to like and subscribe as you head on in. So L, Blackest Nerd, what up, Joe? Joe up with the morning, Joe. What's happening with your homie? We in the building. Yes, indeed, man. So Young Illuminati in the building also. What is the deal, man? Shout out to all y'all. So L, you shot me this morning, and I think we both were a bit surprised that this had come out, and it was a bit illuminating. Some of the quotes, Shaqzilla, what's happening with you, bro? Some of the quotes were a bit illuminating, and maybe a little bit surprising to some. You know, it may be a bit surprising to some. Husband to one, father of 4. Shout out to you, bro. Good morning, everybody in the building, man. So we gonna get right to it before some of you guys have to clock in. So let's start from the top. This is via Rod Walker and the Times-Picayune. They say the two most talked about moves the New Orleans Pelicans have made this offseason are the hiring of a new head coach and parting ways with their longtime equipment manager. Rest in peace, Big Shot. Look, he ain't even Big Shot name in the joke. So outside of that, things have been much quieter than you would expect for a team that finished just 26-56. The Pelicans were one of 8 NBA teams that didn't reach 30 wins. The other 7, Dallas, Memphis, Sacramento, Utah, Brooklyn, Indiana, and Washington, all added pieces this offseason with first-round draft picks or via trades and free agency. The Pelicans, meanwhile, haven't moved the needle. Other than re-signing barely used veteran center, barely used is crazy. Other than re-signing barely used veteran center DeAndre Jordan, brought back for his leadership, and selecting former St. Augustine High School standout Jerome Pierre in the second round of the draft, the Pelicans have stood still. The lack of moves comes as a surprise, especially after executive vice president of basketball operations Joe Dumars said at the season's end that he would like to add some toughness to the roster. Almost 4 months later, not much has been added. Not that Dumars hasn't tried. And this is the first official quote from Joe Dumars. He said, "We were engaged in a lot of conversations with a lot of different teams," Dumars said Friday in an interview with the Times-Picayune. "But at the end of the day, you've got to make a determination if this is the right deal or not. You don't want to make a move for the sake of making a move. It has to be right for us." Now, L, I've heard that sentiment echoed to me. Whoa, what's up with your Navy Chief? Shout out to your homie. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure y'all tap in with the like button. Now, I've heard that sentiment echoed to me multiple times this offseason as I've spoken to people kind of in the know. It's like, you don't want to do things just for the sake of doing things, just to say you did something. But how do you feel about that initial quote from Joe Dumars?
I 100% agree. I think when we have been trying to evaluate the offseason on our own, right? Like when we start talking about the players that were available and the players that were mentioned in trades and like some of the things that would have cost to get said players, right? It was even when we was trying to decide, it was kind of like, shout out to you, Bree. I'm sorry, Bree. Sometimes you're able to work, gotta work, bro. Sometimes they call you in early. But you know, even when we were talking about deals, for example, we was talking about Jaylen Brown, and it was like if it costs you trade Herb and then 2 firsts, you like, I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even we started going through some of the deals, it was kind of like, I don't know if I would do that. And then some of the players, for example, people keep mentioning the Miles Turner's for Poole deal. You alone is like, I don't think I would do that. So it's just, if you're them, it's just, I think it's good to hear we don't want to do something just for the sake of doing it, because even as with the players are available, it's kind of like you don't really see the knockout move that's available. So when we talk, we kind of understand where they're coming from for, you know what I mean, from that perspective.
Facts, facts. And you have to be very conscious of your salary cap situation and how you could potentially handicap yourself going into next offseason. That's something I've been told that they're very conscious of as well. So let's continue reading. Say the phone calls to and from Dumars' phone were steady throughout the summer. It's really interesting that they put two there because a lot of times in the off season it's framed as if, oh, we just receiving calls, we aren't making any. Not that this front office is saying that, I'm just saying generally speaking. All right,
Yeah.
so here's another quote from Joe. He says, when you're presented with deals that you can do, you've got to make a determination of if this is going to make you better and add what you need, Dumars said. The lack of moves being made right now is not from a lack of effort or us deciding we didn't want to do anything. We've engaged with a lot of teams this offseason, but there was just no big deal that I felt was going to make us better for us to pull the trigger. So let me ask you about this quote. You just mentioned a big deal as well. Do you think the term big deal was purposeful? Because I think some people was like, man, we not necessarily asking for Jaylen Brown. We just wanted you to get a little center, like a center. But with the premium on centers this offseason, like you seen guys get big money that you typically wouldn't see. Do you think that in their eyes it's like no trading for a center, a quality center that you guys would be appreciative of, you of the fans, you as in the fan base, that is considered a big deal because now people are asking for a lot. Do you think him saying big deal was purposeful or just figure of speech?
Nah, I think it was intentional, because let's say you bring in, again, we've been talking about Nick Richards. If you bring in Nick Richards, like, not that he don't help, but how much does Nick Richards really like move the needle? You know what I mean? And for where they are, I think they do have to be conscious of, I think they do need to make, if they're going for a center, I do think it need to be like somewhat of a bigger move to a degree. So you considering, like, even if you move Poole, that's $34 million towards a player, and it's expiring. You know what I mean? So that's like, that's a huge move. It changes the trajectory of what your future look like to a degree. And that's for, let's say it's for Sabonis, right? And let's say it's not Poole. Let's say it's DeJounte and Herb. Well, that's probably going to cost draft picks or something like that as well. So then it's kind of like, to have a difference maker of a player come in, then you have to, it's probably going to cost us something significant. Or what are we giving up? Because again, and you mentioned this a lot, that like you can't just give away your trash for somebody's great. You know what I mean?
People want good players in exchange, right?
Exactly. Good players, good assets. They want to be able to sell to their fan base, hey, we're doing something as well. So I think the term big move was 100% intentional. And I think when he says, we were presented with a lot of deals, but the deals we could or couldn't make, just kind of like, for example, let's say Herb Jones, let's use Herb Jones' name, for example. And they say, okay, somebody offered us Herb for Max Strus straight up, right? Herb Strus straight up. While you got to weigh the balance of, me and you might like that deal, but like maybe
they don't
like
like it, yeah.
maybe somebody else is kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Maybe like other people in the organization are kind of like, well, Strus don't do this. Strus about to expire. Are we going to be able to recoup this money down the line? And like, well, Herb is worth X amount of picks at least from a.
What up, though, Detroit? What up, Detroit Warren?
What's good, bro?
And I'm sorry,
So,
bro. I'm
no,
sorry.
you
Shout out to
good.
Most Hated as well. Yo, we got 40 people in the building. Shout out to the early birds getting that bread. Early bird get the worm. Make sure y'all hit that like button, man. Let's get 40 likes in the building. We dropping knowledge at the top of the top morning, like on a Monday. We getting it in, man. What's happening with y'all? But my bad, L. Continue to
No,
cook,
you
brother.
good.
My bad.
Nah, you
Shout out to
good, bro. It's
Denzel
just
also.
y'all. Shout out to the chat, man. Y'all are hella funny. I'm sorry for doing this to y'all, but like sometimes we gotta make sure y'all get this information so y'all could have it for the day. See how y'all feel about it.
Yes, indeed.
But it's just basically trying to determine what is necessarily going to move the needle for you as a team and being able to weigh that balance between, hey, what would what's a smaller move? Is Herb for Strus technically a smaller move? Because once you move Herb out of the franchise, people might internalize that as a big move also. So that's another thing that I'm considering. It's kind
Yeah,
of
like
like
for as public perception.
exactly like public perception is that
Well,
it's like, hey, you got rid of one of your cornerstones,
right.
so that's something that you got to consider as well. Now, if it's leading to wins or something that's going to make you significantly better, then you got to do what you got to do. But I understand the balance, but I do think the term big move was used intentionally.
Now, this is where the quotes get a little spicy, right? This is where the quotes get a little spicy, and I'm very interested in hearing how people interpret this. And I think it's eye opening in one sense. So to continue with the article, Rod said some of those trade possibilities came around the draft in June. The Pelicans didn't have a first round pick because of the trade in 2025, where they moved up to select Derik Queen. Dumars hinted in April that the team could try to move into the first round this year, but unlike 2025, they didn't make any moves. And this is Dumars' quote. See, we certainly could have gotten into the first round,
Mm,
but the price was too steep to do it. That's where discipline comes in. It's
mm,
appealing sometimes to say that you can get into the first round, but at what cost?
mm,
Then you have to look at where you're getting your pick at. Last year, we moved into the lottery and got Queen. I thought it was worth it. This year, where we would have landed in the first round, wouldn't have been worth giving up what we had to give up. Now, I'm going to read that last sentence again
mm,
because it's worded in a way you could take it two different ways, right? He said, this year, where we would have landed in the first round wouldn't have been worth giving up what we had to give up.
mm.
Now, me reading it, what was that, Janola Ant? My initial interpretation of that is, well, this year for what they was asking for wouldn't have been worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But depending on how you want to interpret that, or this depending on your interpretation, do you think because this year the Pelicans, in my opinion, I think that the Pelicans could have very easily gotten to the top 10, like at least
100%.
from 8 beyond. Like the Pelicans could have easily got from 8 beyond. And
Mm-hmm.
Joe said he thought it was worth it to move up to trade, pick 8 and whatever the other pick ultimately ended up. It ultimately ended up being 5, but it would have probably been later. But let's say he thought it was worth it to trade 23 and 8 to move up to 13.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that jibes with saying it wouldn't have been worth it this year unless you thought this year Derik is better than anyone selected from 8 and beyond. Now, if that's how you feel, I totally understand. But how do
Mm-hmm.
you interpret that? What's up, Ken
So
Dog?
so first I'll shout out to the chat, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button.
Yes, indeed.
Um, I'm so I hear it so many different ways, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the first thing I hear is the price was too steep.
Right.
And I'm like, and he's talking about being disciplined, right?
Yeah.
To me, that means a couple things. If you go back to last year in the reports of about what they were willing to move
Mm-hmm.
to move into the first round, like to move up into the first round is kind of like they had to control themselves back then. So now, you know, being able to move up into the first round and somebody calls you with an offer and you know you get excited, and Joe talks about this a little bit more so later. He mentions being disciplined. To me, that screams Amanda Green.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That screams some of the other hires that were made. So like the just first like initial value, just when you're looking at like the first line, is like sometimes you gotta be disciplined. And it's like, oh, y'all learning from this shit that y'all pulled last all season. Yeah. Not just, and this is also it speaks back to what he was talking about with the trades. You don't just make moves just to make them, right? The overall discipline that they're showing in the offseason is showing right now, and he's basically acknowledging it in the quotes, right? Yeah. Oh, and that price too steep line. We heard all summer that Trey is the name that's been moved, and it's just kind of like, nah. Like the price too steep to go to wherever. Do you? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Do you want to respond? Like, go ahead. What's your thought? What's your thoughts on that initially?
Well, also it's like, am I buying or selling? Because
very true.
In this scenario, it's like if I'm selling, and I might not feel like I'm getting my money's worth in a potential deal, because I think the ask was still like multiple firsts and a young prospect for a trade, potentially 2 firsts for Herb Jones. And he addresses some of these things later. Like he kind of touches on them, pause, without going into great detail. But also, to me, it highlights Troy Weaver and the ambition last offseason. Now, some might say reckless ambition, because look, the deal you make ultimately is what gets spoken about.
Yes.
The deal you make. But it's like there's a world where you potentially give up even more in that deal, because I'm glad they practice some restraint, especially with how that draft fell, because if you, hypothetically speaking, this is hypothetical, if you was targeting Nate at minute 8, I don't even remember where he was drafted.
like 13 or something like that. I think somewhere in there.
In that scenario, it would have looked a little crazy. Or even like, and some might say you even reached for Derik, because if you was talking, you picked up Derik at 13. I think the rumor was Minnesota was looking at him. And where did Minnesota pick? Like 18, 19?
I think it was like 17, but that's still in the same range. You probably could have gave up less to go from there to there.
A bit less, and take into account Atlanta was just the only one smart enough to take the deal. They called allegedly. Troy called everybody, and so I'm glad to see kind of like a temperament shift in the front office as we head into this draft. As we went through this past draft.
Before we continue to move on, the thoughts that jumped to me also is like when we talked about who was possibly looking at for being moved during the offseason. Like obviously it was Trey. We also know it was Herb. He says the cost for where it could have landed us, right? So like if you move Herb Jones for a late 20 round pick, right? This team is they're trying to contend now. Not saying that a late 20 for the future won't help you, but shout out to you, Young. Herb is a guy who will have more value during the season. Will look for contenders looking like him. Yes. So if you move Herb in the draft, but I don't know, like let's say the call again. From what we heard, the deals for Herb was for like late 20s, right? And then or future protected first or something.
Yeah, I've heard that he didn't have a ton of value in the draft.
Yeah,
that's what I was told.
Right, and not that you can't make said deal, but if you're trying to compete right now and not really, because how people are gonna perceive moving Herb Jones for, I don't know, Chris Annett, right? You're not Like, and I said Chris Annett because he was like 27 or
And
something
he's
like that.
impressed in summer league, going to Boston.
Absolutely. But you don't, before all of that, you're not assuming Chris Annett is going to help as much during the season. You'll be like, where's Chris Annett going to play? And then you got to ask the questions about Chris Annett versus Derik Queen. And you know what I mean? Like, it's still a bunch of other questions. So then it's kind of like, are there players in the back end of the draft that'll help me now, as opposed to if I go into the season with Herb Jones, they might have a different caliber or level of player during the season.
I think, and again, I don't know exactly what Herb's value was in this scenario, but let's just say it was a late first and maybe a second, an early second, or something along those lines. If you walk away in this draft with Cam Carr and Trevon Brazil,
I'm happy.
Like, if you walk away with Carr and Brazil, a lot of people are ecstatic, and the fan base, I would say, once the initial hurt
shock of it goes,
damn. But I think people feel better. Shout out to everybody in the building. We got over 50 people in the building. Let's hit
the
like
second
button.
you
Let's get
see
the
Cam ball in the summer league.
Let's get the lights up to 40,
better.
man. And even Trevor Brazil in what, he's in Denver now. So,
yeah.
But you know, again, this is me not knowing what deals were realistically available, because someone could easily tell me, Chaz, nobody was offering that, and it's like, oh, damn, my bad, you know. So
lastly, I don't know if you spoke. I think then when he says Queen a little bit, when he was like last year the Queen deal, they thought it was worth it. Do you think when he said I thought it was worth it,
that point to me kind of rolled over into the final sentence, because I mean it's the prior sentence, because I'm like, it's a great question. That's why I kind of titled this like, I don't think they do that deal today. Whoa, what's happening with your dad? What's the deal, bro? Shout out on dad. Like, I don't think they do that deal today, and I think a large part of that is the acquisition of Amanda Green. And AJ. I'm sure AJ has some say in this as well, because he handles more of the analytics with the guys on the floor. I just don't think they do that deal today.
He's talking a lot about the cost of he's talking about the cost of said deals now, which is interesting to your point.
One thing, and look, it's a cliche adage, but hindsight being 2020, there's almost no, unless the market has severely changed, and this is just life. Like, you're a property owner, you already know this as well. It's like when you buy properties, right? There's almost no world where you say, damn, if I knew what I knew now, I would have done X or Y, right? Unless something has drastically changed. In this situation, nothing has changed necessarily. Shout out to y'all. My mic low, I'm gonna turn it up now. What up, H Bizzle? What up, Waves? What up, Bostonville? Shout out to y'all. Nothing has really changed in the draft. Nothing has changed in the free agency market. It's been about the same the last couple of years now. So there's no way in my opinion, you feel this way now, as in evaluating the 6th draft, and your hindsight isn't telling you, fuck. If I would have thought about it this way, then I probably wouldn't have done
I probably don't do that.
Yeah, because nothing's changed. You only feel differently when something changes. And so far, nothing has changed. So we'll continue. But that's a great question by you, L. You know, I thought it was worth it. You know, now you could easily say, I think it was worth it.
Exactly.
I thought it was worth it.
Exactly. I thought at the time we thought it was. Right. I thought it was worth it. Like, and people use thought. It was kind of like, it could still be present tense, but thought references like the past. Like, at the time, we thought it made sense to make that move.
I think the term or the expression, like, or anything that follows the word thought in a sentence is usually followed up with at the time. like you just said, like, at the time I thought, I thought I was doing a good thing. You know, so
I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
Yeah, so Shout out to Rod. He continues here. Say the Pels offseason silence has led to plenty of noise for a frustrated fan base. Social media has been flooded with trade rumors involving the Pelicans all summer long. Fans debated every trade they saw on their timeline, even the ones that had no validity to them. But that's to be expected when the team comes off back-to-back non-playoff seasons. Most fans starving for a winning product wanted to see something, anything. But Dumars says he's never got one of those offers you can't refuse. And
Mm,
his way he talks, to me, this is kind of a Trey Murphy, Herb Jones,
mm-hmm,
Zion, etc. type statement. He said you have to be disciplined in these seats. You can't be emotional. You can't
mm,
take things personal. You have to
mm.
be real disciplined in what you're doing. What's your takeaway from that? Or do you think we should move on to the next statement to get a fuller scope?
No, no. I think that's
Hmm.
I think the personal and emotional is not necessarily from the Pelican standpoint. I think that's more about the players, to your
Mm,
point, right? How I view that is we can't take things personal and emotional, where you've heard some players probably would prefer to be other places, right?
yeah.
Just because you prefer to be somewhere and you might have voiced, being unhappy.
Hmm.
It's like, look, I understand, but we're not just gonna make no emotional decision
Right.
and do
Rash.
something,
Yeah. Decision.
do something just to do it because of how you feeling in the moment right now as well. Like a
Mhm.
lot of these things, probably if you go into the season and we have a quality season, or there's possibly some things that could change. Because bro, you know how that shit works. Sometimes you could be in the moment, you could be heated, you could be, damn near rage. Ain't nothing. I ain't never doing this. And then things calm down, a little bit of time pass, you find yourself in a better situation.
Hmm.
And it's like, you know what? It's not that bad. I'm glad I didn't make said decision before. So I think this is Joe talking from a point of like being a veteran point of,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Just being around the league a long time, having to make a lot of decisions. Um, and it's just more so, uh, he also says, I didn't see a deal that I couldn't refuse, right? Which to me
Well,
means,
that's Rod's quote.
okay, yeah, he says, where is it? He said,
Rod's quote is but don't want to say he never got one of those offers you can't refuse. Now I'm sure I think he just like using that expression
mm-hmm,
because Joe doesn't like explicitly say that, but he does say you have to be disciplined in these seats. You know, you can't be emotional, you can't take things personal. You have to be real disciplined in what you're doing.
yeah, I think to the overall sentiment of the quote is
Hmm.
basically like, if we would have gotten one of those knockout kind of deals,
Hmm.
somebody would have offered us 5 firsts for Bane. You know what I mean? For
Yeah,
like, if they
yeah,
would
it
have
would have
got the
happened.
main deal, then it's kind of like,
Yeah,
all right. Like, because again, Memphis probably didn't want to move Desmond Bane, but when Orlando calls
with that.
with that package, it's kind of like,
Mhm.
shit, I guess we pivoting. You know what I
And
mean? So go ahead.
And shout out to Waves because I think his point uh meshes with yours as well. It's like another thing sign of being emotional is like I just want to get rid of him. I'm going to attach an asset to get rid of this guy just for
Mm,
the sake of doing it. Like
mm-hmm.
and you know to say to use Rod's expression, like you didn't get a deal you can't refuse. That also tells me, to your point, is like you didn't get the Godfather offer, which
Mm-hmm.
means the guys' value isn't crazy like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I think some guys' value might be a little inflated based on how shallow the market is
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have those big names anymore, just changing teams as frequently.
Yep.
But especially not in free agency. But like, still, the reality of the situation is like these aren't superstar players on the market. Peyton Watson is not a superstar. Trey is not a
Mm-hmm.
superstar. Ben Mathurin is not a superstar. Kaminga is not a superstar. So, like,
That
even
value will
one
come
can say
in.
Desmond Bain, but at the time, you're talking about a team that was excelling in
Yes.
Orlando, and
Mm-hmm.
they had one need at the time.
Yes.
one need, and it was 3-point shooting. They went all out for KCP. It didn't work out. And for Desmond Bain, they might have felt like LeBron's gone. Desmond Bain, that he might be our ticket to a championship. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
probably what they really thought. So it's interesting.
Especially when you see the changes in the East, the
Oh
way that they
yeah.
were. It's like Mikal Bridges made a huge difference for the Knicks.
Oh yeah.
Pascal Siakam made a huge difference for
Huge
Indy.
difference.
So if you can
Yeah.
add a player like that fits their, like, again, if Franz don't go down, that's a second round. They probably make it
You
to
could
the
say
second.
Drew Holiday to Boston, Drew Holiday to
Yes.
Milwaukee. You know,
So
yeah.
no, think about that. Like if Franz, why if they stay healthy throughout the playoff run, talking about Orlando,
Yeah.
the Bain deal probably pays off, and you knock out the one
It's
seed,
major
and you would have
dividends.
gave them a shot. You would have gave them a good shot against Cleveland.
In
Also,
the first year.
year one
Yeah.
of said deal. So like,
Yeah. Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button. So Rod says the Pelicans could still add pieces. They need to. Rim protection and rebound. He said they need
they
to.
need to.
Rim protection and rebound to help more reliable shooters, and rim protection and rebound to help and more reliable shooters should still be high on Dumars' list of priorities. But as of now, the roster looks almost exactly like it did 4 months ago. Dumars' message to the fans who frowned at the thought of the Pelicans just running it back with the same squad. Question mark. Now, what I will say about Rod ain't really
Rod
pulling no
ain't holding
punches here.
back on the shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So shout out to Joe. Joe said,
bro.
"I think if we're
Hold
healthy, we
on,
have
if
a."
you don't mind.
No, go
Hold
ahead.
on, real quick before, like, I did the episode a couple days ago with Rashad Milligan, man. Shout out to y'all
Oh yeah,
and
shout out to
anybody who
Rashad.
checked
Yeah.
that. Shout out to Rashad and anybody who checked that episode out on Pels in the Blender. Make on YouTube. Make sure y'all subscribe. But one of the things that we talked about was being able to ask tough questions and like get true responses.
Yeah.
To your point about Rod's questioning, and not just a question, him being like, shit, they need to add, yeah, like being able to have that conversation with Joe and ask that question in that form shows, okay, at least to Joe, you could be direct and ask Joe a real question and get, you know what I mean? He's not gonna be emotional or duck or whatever and get a real answer. Like, I think that's one of the things. And shout out to Rod Walker being an OG in the game and even covering the team at all.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the kinds of questions you need, because again, we have concern about if anybody would ask this question or frame it this way in general. So those are the kinds of things you need. So shout out to Rod, man.
Yes, indeed, man. So Joe's response is, "I think if we are healthy, we have a good roster." Dumars said, "I believe in the players we have, but two things can be true at the same time. And you can believe in your roster and you can continue to look to get better. So that's what I'm doing. I believe in the roster, but I'm still looking for us to get better." I've heard the same thing. Now, of course, action speaks louder than words, right? I've heard the same thing from several people. Like, you know, they still moving around, you know what I'm saying? They still wheeling and dealing with the Hawkins thing. I heard they've kind of reached a bit of a blockade there. Hopefully talks with that start to pick back up, but I've heard at this point those talks have kind of stalled a bit. Shout out to the homie Louisiana Gal, bright and early. What's the deal? Shout out to the homie, man. Shout out to Toro as well. He said free Zion. So they still allegedly, you know, looking around at potentially acquiring talent even with the training camp invitations, things of that nature. But what do you make of that comment? Whereas him saying, you know, I'm still looking, because there's this has been the most bizarre fucking offseason, bro.
Yeah.
With the Kawhi shit, and who knows the domino that's holding up. But yeah, Kawhi, Ben Mathurin, Brandon Ingram still left in limbo. Like Grady Dick. It's a bunch of players still kind of left in limbo in the situation.
Yeah. James Harden still ain't signed.
James Harden still hasn't signed. Ben Mathurin. Like, it's a lot of stuff that he was like, yo, are y'all gonna, like, are we gonna finish this at some point?
Yes.
Like, what are we doing here? So what did you make of those comments?
I think it's a great point. Because if you think about it, it was like, I think if we're healthy, we're a good team. I think that's a good starting point because
It's
first,
hard to argue against it.
yeah, like if you go back to last season, right, you still was waiting months for DeJounte to even come back to the roster. So if you say, I think if we're healthy, right, like if you just start from that perspective, it's kind of like, are we forced to do something right now to make up for, our deficiencies? It's like, well, I think we're in a position where if we're healthy to start the season, I think we can manage in the beginning of the season for our deficiencies. You know what I mean? Like I don't think they're in a position to where they like for example, if DeJounte was out again or like Trey was out or something, then I think you'd have to make a move to kind of supplement your other weaknesses while said player was coming back. So I just think that's like the perspective of we still looking for deals, but I don't think we're in a position where we have to make a bad move or we have to do anything um like anything drastic or something that puts us in a future bad position, because right now if we're healthy, I think we're good enough or decent enough to, with the addition of Mosley and the things they've added, to kind of like tread water until we can really see what other deal might materialize.
Yeah, I think he does expound on this a bit. And I think also like to Rod's earlier points, like you can, if you just address shooting
Mm-hmm.
and get a solid big, I think people would be like, well, on paper it's hard to really find the quote unquote weak spot on this roster. It just
Mm-hmm.
seems like you would just need to consolidate. Like it
Yeah.
might be too much of the same thing in certain areas and not enough in other areas. But it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to argue just on paper that this is a bad roster, like top to bottom. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? It just like, I think you can argue that it's a mid roster, like a low
Yeah.
upside roster, but it's hard to argue that it's a bad roster.
he
Um,
he also, just real quick, he also just talking about like we can still look, I think, to
yeah,
the point where the off season is dragging out so long to where
yeah, this is
like,
crazy.
dog, like I think he probably been thought Jalen Duran would be signed, Peyton Watson would be, like some of
I
the
forgot
names
about Jalen Duran. Yeah,
that's you get, like I think they probably sitting there looking at the off season like, can we, not saying that you're even in position for some of those,
hmm,
but we don't know how shit gonna shake out to where you might wind up in a position, get ready to go into the season, and like you might be able to make a move you didn't think you was gonna make
yeah,
ahead of time, to where it's kind of like maybe you don't want to, with all of these players still technically being available, even if
hmm,
you're not quite interested right now. For example, you seen your boy what is his name, Hizonga, Mario
yeah.
Hizonga, come back to the league,
Hmm.
right? That like
Signed immediately too. That was
yeah,
crazy.
it signed immediately. So like it could be a situation where, do I make a move right now based off who's available when KCP got bought out or cut or whatever? Like you still don't know.
Memphis has to cut guys. Milwaukee,
Yeah,
I
like
think
there's still a
maybe
bunch of
Dallas,
people.
if I'm not
Yeah, a couple. I think
mistaken.
Milwaukee might have more than
Yeah, I think it's
15 on
Memphis,
their
Milwaukee, and
roster.
Dallas, if I'm not mistaken. That has too many
So
players.
it's just kind of like, if the move is not one of those, this addresses the need for either cheap or it just makes us better. Do I want to make the move now, or are they in a situation where it's just kind of like being patient might work out better for us in the long run, even if it drags closer to start of the season, because there's so much shit that hasn't been done yet.
Yeah, I think there's a very reasonable like rationale and logic behind it. I think the only thing I know for myself is just that
Mm-hmm.
I want to increase the margin for error and decrease the possibility of excuses, right? Because you got a
Mm-hmm.
new coach, you're gonna want to build some continuity and get some installs there and kind of hit the ground running. And I guess it really depends on what type of players you. If you're getting like just a guy, hey, you go rebound, he gonna know what
Mm-hmm.
his job is. Hey, you just shoot the ball, he gonna know what his job is. But if you're getting a guy that might have a little bit more wiggle to his game, pause,
Mm-hmm.
then like, hey, the earlier the better in some of those scenarios. But it's gonna be interesting. Like I've heard several names.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the funny
Mm.
thing with the Pelicans is that you never really know until after the guy signed somewhere else.
Yeah.
You say, oh, you know, the Pelicans used to like that dude. Like, you know,
Yeah.
that's typically how it goes down. You hear from some great sources, some people
Yeah.
that they've considered sometimes ahead of time. We spoke about it on this show,
Let me
but
ask you a question real quick before we move
uh,
on. If like, let's say again, because we like a lot of the people they bringing in, and shout out to Waves for that. We like a lot of the people that
yeah,
they're
Cam
bringing
Houston.
in
Yep,
for the camp deals, right? Coloco,
I like
Houston.
all three of them really.
I like Buffkin too. Like I like all three of those.
Yeah, I like all three of
Let's
them.
say, and I don't think so, but let's just say hypothetically, there is a deal on the table for where, right? Let's
Mm,
say like Hawkins in a first got you where, because
mm.
salary wise, I think it will work. If would you be willing to pay Hawkins in the first for that type of player? If later on down the line you could say we might be able to do, I don't know, DeJounte for Duran later in the season. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, would you rather, if you had to do a deal now, would you rather pay cost to acquire a player just to say, all right, look, let me just get it out the way. I'll have whatever, or later down the season, something that you really wanted to do
Yeah,
becomes available, but you'd have to wait.
I guess it depends on if we're using Ware as the example. I guess it depends on how good you think Ware is,
Okay.
because I don't think if I could get Ware for one first now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can imagine a player that would be available for on
Later.
a rookie, like for us everything being equal, like the
Mm.
contracts and things of this. Because I'm not a big fan of Durant.
Right,
So
right, right.
so if it's like I probably would bite the bullet on Ware if that was the best
Mm-hmm.
I thought I could do in that scenario. Um, it would just depend on who was ultimately available, but you never really know until you get to that point. The thing that
Yeah,
makes Ware, in my opinion, in particular, special aside from his game, is that he's on a rookie scale deal. Like if
100.
Jalen Duren was still on that rookie deal, or he was already just like, all right, I'm gonna take qualifying offer. I think most people
Mhm.
are like, ah, hey, let's what's up?
Yeah, let's do something. Yeah.
Let's do something. But the fact that he's like, man, I'm trying to get them M's, and the fact that like
Mhm.
even Peyton Watson, like a lot of guys, either already got their money or they trending quickly toward money. So I think that's what gives Ware the edge there, in my opinion.
Gotcha. That
Um,
makes sense.
let's see here. So he says. Rod says if Dumars doesn't find what he's looking for, it'll be up to Mosley to do with the roster with former coach Willie Green and interim coach James Borrego were unable to do these past 2 seasons. Make the Pelicans tougher, both mentally and physically. There
Mm.
is some promise in the social media videos of Zion Williamson, Derik Queen, Jeremiah Fez, Trey Murphy, and DeJounte Murray working out this offseason. But the work those players are putting in has to transfer over the games. Speak on it, right? For sure.
And
Shout out to Joe Dumars. He says, I'm really happy with the approach of all of our guys during the offseason. The players committed going into this offseason, taking their conditioning and work to another level. And I think that's what you have been able to witness with all of these videos. What's your takeaway on the videos we've seen this offseason? I guess it's always better to see guys in it than not see them.
mm, I think no matter, again, to Rod's point, it don't matter what you see in the videos. Y'all motherfuckers got to show up when the season come, and that's the overall point that we've had throughout the season. But as far as what Joe's saying in the videos and what you're seeing in the videos, for the most
Mm-hmm.
part, is I think Mosley, Sham God, the players all have. I haven't seen most of it. Like, again, this is the first off season where we get an opportunity to see like Fear's work, right? But Jonte in the off season, you can't say what you want. The dude looked like he putting in work during the off season, right? Zion, obviously, I think there has absolutely been a raised level of expectation for what your summer is supposed to look like. And if this is something that'll carry on just during Mosley's tenure alone, I think it'll pay dividends in like as you continue to stack seasons and off seasons, and like I think it'll pay dividends moving forward. From that standpoint, at least, is because at the end of the day, like we like being in shape and like working hard and like working harder than you've ever worked, like needs to be the standard. So as far as changing the culture and stuff like that, if all of this is going to be, if this is one of those things where it's kind of like you see KD work out every summer, so you don't really give a fuck when you see KD work out. Yeah. So like I think that needs to become the norm for the Pelicans players as well. Just kind of like it's like, oh, all right, Z doing what he normally do. You look how he normally looks. Like this needs to become more normalized as opposed to your point. You say this a lot, man. I see you in the videos. You look good. Like,
right.
Like it shouldn't be this exciting. Like you're a professional player at the end of the day.
Yeah. I just I need to see like Zion's not someone I'm worried about for his talent wise.
Yes.
For us with some of the other guys, I'm like my greater question for them is just like, can you be good this year? Trade to a lesser degree. It's like, well, trade, can you rebound this year? Be a little tougher.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it's like for everyone else, Spears was a rookie, but everyone that we've seen for the most part, it's like, well, can you be good this year? Because you could. I like the idea of you sprinting up and down the court. That's what's up. Can you make the motherfucking ball go in the hoop this year? Like, cause you're gonna get the opportunity, and we definitely gonna see. We
I like what I see from like Bryce and Sadiq Bey and they workouts and stuff. Like I rather see, like I like to see Zion, but like Trey again, like you say, those players to a lesser degree, cool. Like I like the Bryce workout because Bryce ended the season not healthy. So like seeing Bryce move around and stuff is like, oh, all right, you like better, you'll be back. So I think that's like somebody you kind of want to see and see how he's moving. Like players like that you have questions about either their health or because, for example, you see Mitchell Robinson multiple all seasons shooting jumpers and shit like that, and you know damn well he ain't doing none of that when the season comes. So it's like part of that is a real thing. But some players like from the off-season work, like I said, like Sadiq Bey, I haven't seen him really work. Not saying that he won't post people up because that's just part of his game, but like you see him working a lot on like his catch and shooting. You know what I mean? Like just small. So like stuff like that, I actually do want to see because it says to me that somebody gave you a plan and like this is what like you're working on what they might have asked you to work on.
You know what I think it is also. I think for me or someone who might be a little more apprehensive on some of the off season workouts, because at this point the shit's a little exhausting. I ain't gonna lie. Like it's like, man, that's what you're supposed to do. Like it does get to that point, but I think you just crave that new car smell. Like you just want like, oh, we just got this dude. Let me go check out what he got. Got going. And I think for as like with Sadiq, it's kind of like I know what to expect. With Bryce, like, I have a pretty good idea of what to expect. Now, Bryce takes another step and becomes Peyton fucking Watson.
Not that boy. Bryce take another if Bryce take another step. Now, Bryce in college, people forget Bryce was like a guy in college or whatever. Like a lot of these dudes got really high potential, and you just have to fit into a role. When you get to the NBA,
you gotta find your niche.
Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Butler was.
You just about to outwork everybody. Rodman, you just gonna outwork everybody and find your niche. But you could be Jeremy Sohan.
You could. You could.
You got some people like, yo, man, how hard you work. It's gonna be interesting to see. So kind of coming to the close of the article here. Shout out to everybody in the building. Make sure y'all hit that like button. So Rod says Zion, who will return for his 8th season, remains the key to it all. Dumars said in April that he wants to see Zion play under Mosley. Zion played in 62 games last season, the second most of his career. Any chance the Pelicans have on making the playoffs will once again rest on his shoulders. Joe Dumars' message to Zion Williamson has been simple. To be great, you have to be obsessed with this, he told Zion Williamson. You can't casually become great in this league. What I've seen from him this summer is he's obsessed with the work he's putting in, and that is really encouraging for me that he's putting in this type of work. What are your thoughts on that, if any?
I think it's a good quote also is because again we talked about setting the expectation. Anthony Edwards is consistently adding to his game, keep like refining and retooling or whatever. Like the great players, when you're Zion and you've just been a supreme athlete, or just naturally better than everybody, you go just wake up. Like Zion could do nothing and wake up and go probably get 20. But how he gets the 20 or the 25 or whatever is different. And you started to see Zion coming back to the pack a little bit last season, like to be honest. So I think Zion personally didn't like the feeling of being human. You know what I mean? Being human on the court.
Yeah. And like,
So I think
losing around this bitch.
Like the fuck. Because again, if you think about it, most of the time when Z used to play, it was like if Z was playing, it was more than likely you had a solid opportunity.
Yeah, you had a better than average chance of winning.
Yeah. So like I think Joe being like, dog, what you thought was gonna happen? Like and I think Joe told him straight up, like, bro, you ain't played in the playoffs. Like you ain't what you're doing is nowhere near enough. Yeah. So give him from somebody he respects. Yeah. Right, because the relationship between him and David Griffin in the past just wasn't
real bunk.
Yeah, it was not ideal. So somebody he respects being like, dog, this what you doing. This ain't enough to be at the level you saying you want to be. And to that point, Zion isn't really around a bunch of like other stars in the offseason to say to look like if he was cool with Ant, be like, yo, bro, this how we working like naturally, like he. So I think it's good for somebody to kind of set the standard of, bro, you need to be doing this and more. That's why I think the value of Mosley and Sham got to a degree, and the people that they've been associated with throughout their careers to just be like, bro, for you to do the shit you talking about doing, this ain't enough at all. That's kind of how I took it.
If you Mosley, you was like, well, I was just with another number one pick. He's been to the playoffs every year with me. What you did, like because I mean, you got people that could talk that shit to be real. Shout out to Coach in the building. What up with you, Coach? Top of the morning to you, brother. Shout out to the Coach, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Yes, indeed. So let's go on to the next quote. Dumars says he's seen it from the rest of the roster as well. Every one of them, Dumars said. Queen is working like he's never worked before. Okay. Fairs is working like that. Trey, Herb, Sadiq, all of them are working their butts off. That's encouraging for me that these guys have become that obsessed with working this summer. The crazy thing to me is that, I'm not even going to say it. But let's just move past that part. So he said, Rod, this is Rod. He said, but those guys that have just won 47 games in the past 2 seasons enough. Season 2 of the Dumars era will answer that. Dumars spent his first year in New Orleans assessing the franchise from top to bottom. That assessment has led to several changes in the building. He brought in new personnel like Amanda Green to handle analytics, David Cosgrave to oversee health and performance. He's hoping to those type of moves will point the franchise in a new direction. Inevitably, though, success will be determined by the players on the roster. At least for now, it'll be the same players from a season ago. Now, Joe said in his final quote in this article, shout out to Rod Walker for his great work this morning. He said, we have really good talent on our team. If we can stay healthy, we have a competitive team, Dumars said. Making a move for the sake of making a move doesn't make you better. You have to evaluate your team and decide whether a move is warranted or not, or if it's a move that's going to make you better or not. Making a bad move may satisfy something short term, but it doesn't make your team better. Okay. Now, shout out to everybody in the building. Now, I have 2 trains of thought on that last quote. I think the emphasis on health is being overstated at this point. Because It might be the reality of the situation.
Mhm.
It might be, but no one cares about it no more. Like no one cares if you're healthy or not. Shout out to Brandon.
Mhm.
Shout out to Solo Kid as well. Peace, y'all. Good morning to y'all, man. No one cares in this season, bro. Like that's the reality of the situation. Like, oh well, Dejounte missed some games, and it's like, I look. The Pelicans were relatively healthy last season. Sans Dejounte,
Mhm.
you lost 21 games in the fourth quarter where you should have where you led in the fourth 20 plus games.
Mhm.
That's not because DeJounte was out. You had an opportunity to win all of those games, not
Mhm.
because and you were healthy. So
Mhm.
I'm not traditionally fond of the health caveat, especially with the Pelicans, because that seems to always be the issue there. But I think you have to go into these situations with optimism. Like you have to go into these situations like, well, look, we think we address that fourth quarter issue that Chaz keep raising because we brought in a new coach.
Mhm.
We're gonna have a bit more structure there. We're gonna have a better version of Zion. We're gonna have year two with some of our guys. The point that kind of stuck out to me a little bit in this last statement was making a bad move may satisfy something short term, but it doesn't make your team better.
Mhm.
I feel like there's two trains of thought there between
Mhm.
trading for Derik or trading. I want to stop saying trading for Derik, but doing that trade in this current view and like vantage, right? Like, because to me, they're just polar opposites. Like you
Mhm.
talk about almost some reckless abandonment that happened last
Mhm.
offseason versus this season where it's just like pure clarity. Like no, nothing. Like we only doing mission essential shit. Like we not
Yes.
playing around, wasting money. We not gambling. We're totally risk adverse this off season. Because the two thoughts just contradict one another. Because what felt good about that in the short term, and now everything's just, well, I don't want to do nothing that could fuck me up. I don't want to
Mhm.
compound my problems. It's like,
I,
yeah,
I think
that's real.
I think, for example, I think is a couple frames of thought as well. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the in the short term comment is when you say, man, we traded for like people, unless you did the true deep dive into Derik's game and whatnot, right? Which again, if you're gonna give all of that up, you would assume that they did. But if you said, okay, we just traded for a big that can rebound, pass the ball, like just face value, right? Let's say this is what you heard. We traded for a big. We moved up in the draft. We gave up a lot, but we traded for a big that can rebound the ball, can score inside. He could play on the perimeter a little bit. He might not be able to run the greatest, but I think at some point we think he could be a double-double type guy. On face value, you like, shit, that sound, that's like we might be able to run the offense. Like that sound like you made a good move.
No,
So
that
that's
sounds
what I
about right.
think. Yeah. So I think when you say in the short term, if that's what somebody told you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, we might have to give up, but this dude, bro, I'm telling you, he could do this, he can do that, he can do this. And it's like that's gonna solve our issues because now moving forward, you going into it and you like, shit, we got a point guard. I already got Eves. We got another big. So now you like, I didn't solve my center situation. I didn't solve my front court
Right.
situation, right? And then when your season starts and you kind of like, we might have
Good morning,
to,
D.
more on top of the morning, we might have to we might have to address something that we thought we paid a lot to address
Mm-hmm.
already. That's why I think it's kind of like in the short term, you're like, I think you're willing to risk some of those things for what it seems like may be a move that solves everything, but it may not necessarily be that in the long term. So I think that's kind of like what they're weighing. Also, I kind of want, unless you want to respond to that point, but I have another idea I wanted to kind of kick to you.
Well, this something like this happened to me the other day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know how you ever had a situation where you was like, man, I'm hungry, but I don't want to go out and get nothing. I kind of want to cook something here, because at least if I
Yeah.
cooked it here, I'm not about to waste my money. I'm not.
Yeah.
Or you like, I don't know what I want, but I know I don't want that.
Yes.
And you like, you know what? I gotta eat something. Fuck it, I'm gonna just get it. And you get it and it's
Mm-hmm.
nasty. And you're like, fuck,
Yeah.
I done wasted
Fucking
my money
yeah.
getting this. I didn't wasted my calories for today getting this. And
Yeah.
I just,
Man, I wish I
ate it.
wouldn't have did that shit, bro.
Yeah, I wish I didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I feel. I'm like, because I'm like, look, fam.
You understand the sentiment going into it.
It's like I totally get it. To where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I like motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Someone I trust told me to do something and it didn't work out, or even if it is working out, it's not working out necessarily how I need it to work out.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
it's still
It's like I'm not hungry no more.
Yeah, I'm not
like,
hungry. I ate, but I didn't
Yeah.
enjoy my meal necessarily, right? I'm kind of like, fuck, and ate this. But so that's kind of
it's
I'm at
hard,
with
bro.
it.
I ain't gonna lie, to your point with the food shit, bro. Ain't nothing like when you spend money on something,
Bruh.
but that shit exactly what you wanted. Like when you hit the nail, you'd be like, oh, bro, this shit was perfect. This was satisfying. You'd be like, it cost me $100. I had to go wherever.
I had to go way out somewhere to get it. But this is perfect. It's hit the spot. Whereas you like, I'll just get some pizza. And you be like, that's the worst piece. The piece, like, it's undercooked. Like, it's just like,
that's a fire fucking analogy, bro.
I'm just like, if it was one pick, I respect your mind.
Mm-hmm.
But this is, you know, I just
he got to be so much better based off of like you need it to be better.
It's just like I can't justify using 3 picks on one player, bro. That ain't like Shaquille O'Neal. Like I can't, like I just like to me in this market, like for the Pelican, it's just tough to me, bro. And that's something I better build a bridge and get the fuck over it because we here now. But when I see or anything I hear that kind of signals anything that's risk adverse, I'm like, well, we just spent all the money doing like now we in this like now we got to go all the way, like, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I feel. But you had another point to raise, brother. My apologies.
No, you good. We talk about also the nothing short term, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing short term might mean, and we've alluded to this point, and you talked about this a lot. Short term might be, what season is this? 26, 27.
Yep.
Right? Like you could mean this season.
Yeah, this
in general.
1 year rental guy. Yeah.
Right. And it's kind of like we don't want a mortgage. And when he says, you know, something that'll make the team better for something right now, it's kind of like that's why when I asked you, for example, like a lot of the pool deals, right? It's kind of like I just don't want to give up my flexibility moving forward. So like maybe they talking about more than just, you know, a move that helps right now. Because again, when you're leading a franchise or a business or something, you got to think more so than just the season, right? The season that you're in. And it's kind of like, look, we in a position right now where if healthy, we should be a lot better. If a knockout deal presents itself, cool. But short term might be, I don't want to do pool for Drew Holiday. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it might make me better, but what does it do for us? As opposed to something that if in 27, 28, you know, we're going to have a draft pick, depending on how the season, possibly 2 draft picks. You know what I mean? And then I'm going to have free agent space or cap space in general, just to be able to do some more things. So like, I think when they're talking about short term versus long term to a degree, I think it's not just the moves for this. See, I think they mean cap space availability moving forward and the flexibility. kind of highlights a lot of the things we talked about and you've emphasized moving forward as far as like an overall plan and scheme.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm not mistaken, Chaz, you kind of like of the mindset, you're not really a championship team at all. So don't get so focused on this season. You need to still be preparing
Yeah.
for
Like
beyond.
my goal ultimately would be tread water this season,
Yep.
put forth a competitive team, rebuild, some guys' value, like a Herb, like a DeJounte, and hopefully you move one or both by the deadline, so you give yourself maximum flexibility going into next season. Because we should do a show called Two Trains of Thought, because again, there's these two trains of thought here, right? To whereas when you make a mistake, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could be paying for it for years and years and
Yes.
years. You married the wrong woman. You have kids with the wrong woman. You buy the wrong car. You get the wrong mortgage. It's anything, right? You could be
Yep.
paying for that mistake for years. Again, we still paying for
Chicago,
David
Levine.
Griffin, huh?
Chicago and Levine.
Chicago and Levine, like Sacramento and Levine.
Yeah.
Like, what I'm saying? Chicago and Patrick Williams.
Yeah. Like you
David
said,
Griffin
David Griffin in the seconds.
yeah, David Griffin and Devontae Graham. Like, you're still paying for that today. You're literally still paying for David Griffin's mistakes, trading those second round picks away today. Like, you're literally still paying for that. But the other train of thought is, again, I keep saying, it's like, hey, if you unalive somebody, you get the same shit for one body you get for 10. So either way, you're out of here. So you might as well go all in. Like, you might as well really go for it. So that's my, I'm trying to figure out like the needle being threaded between being risk averse and what you've done in the past, and the same people being in the office aside from Amanda Green. Because if Amanda Green is that big of the difference maker, then that tells me that whoever you had last year, whoever was doing this last year, they need to get the fuck on. Like, because,
you know what the perfect season scenario would be. Like and if you started the season off and your starting lineup was DeJounte, Trey, Z, Herb, Eves, right? You played well, treaded water, and then like Herb and DeJounte played well, but Fears and Queen are also playing relatively well. You find a situation where you can move DeJounte, you can move Herb, insert Fears and Queen into the start lineup, moving forward, because you need to, that like, if they're here, they need to be starting by year 3, I'd imagine, right? Like
at least one of them,
right? And then you use DeJounte and Herb for either clearing space or adding like quality depth to the, moving forward or something. But if you can thread the needle to where those two start the season this way, you're okay. And then towards the trade deadline, you can move off of DeJounte and Herb for like either future space or picks or something. Let your 2 second-year players start. It ain't about if he's a starter. It's about getting him.
Oh, Derik. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about giving him the opportunity for the rest of the season as the starter with who you probably gonna be moving forward with, and seeing what they can do moving into the off season. So now I truly know what I'm looking like moving forward going into year 3 of them. I think that's like the most ideal way to thread the needle based off what they have right now.
And for myself, and we're gonna get to the star questions next, it's like some of the things that I'm saying but I'm really speaking like as a third party for some of the people some of the things that I've seen expressed online. Like some people trying to figure out the direction. My thoughts on the situation is kind of like basically what you just stated. It's like, well, we here now. Let's just try to tread water, get to next season with as much flexibility as possible, and then you can make a big move.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how I feel that the fan base feels is that you've lost a year of goodwill,
Mm.
right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
not even a year of goodwill. You forfeited an opportunity to get it right,
Yeah.
right? For as not having a pick this year, you forfeited another chance to get it right and increase your margin for error. Because let's just say, hypothetically speaking, if you did have a pick this year, right? And it was, I don't even know. It's so many fucking guys that came out this year. Like, but
Yeah.
let's just say it's the dude from I don't even know, bro. Let's just say it's the guy. His name started with the two B's. It's like Brian. I don't
Oh,
even
Braden Burries.
him. No, it's his Burries, right? And you drafted Burries, and he just lit
Mm-hmm.
the summer league on fire. And you
Definitely
like,
did.
oh shit, we
Mm-hmm.
got Fizz, we got Burries. I don't know if you have Queen or not in that scenario, but let's say you do have him. You got Queen, Fizz, Burries. Oh shit, y'all just
Mm-hmm.
knocking these picks out of the park. The goodwill would be overwhelming,
Yeah.
right? Like the goodwill and the would be overwhelming. They're like, damn. And once if shit go wrong, we trade these motherfuckers. We
Mm-hmm.
already got three cornerstones. Like we gonna be all
Yeah.
right. The foundation is here. We ain't tripping on nothing.
Right.
But since you didn't have a pick this year, and Pierre, he looked like a guy that was picked
Gonna need some
58.
work.
Yeah, he looked like a
Yeah.
guy usually he could use a little work and transition into the NBA this off season, and you haven't made any roster moves to this point. It's like, okay, are we still paying for mistakes?
Mm-hmm.
Are we still paying for mistakes? Is the DeAndre Jordan hype? Is that roster spot really just a babysitter spot for him
Mm-hmm.
to babysit Derik? You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Would you have had we would have had a pick, but you would have to trade to get the pick. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of, I think, the sentiment online is that, fuck, now we made mistakes. We covering for the mistakes, and now we find ourselves in a position where we're just stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're just stuck.
I think the patient approach,
Mm-hmm.
because another thing that I think Joe essentially is saying in this off season is that they learned from last off season is if we would have done nothing, we would have been in a better position,
Like if we just
right?
drafted.
Like if they just even if they do the CJ deal and right in that trade alone, right? Let's say
Mm-hmm.
they do that and just draft Fears. I think that's kind of how they're looking at it moving forward to a degree. Not saying that they won't. Again, like he said, we haven't seen just like a knockout of a deal, and we're not just going to do things just to
Oh,
do them.
GP.
But I think that's why you haven't seen, and I hate to say it this way, you'll probably see it at some point, but I think that's why you haven't seen the Sadiq Bey extension. You haven't seen the Zion extension. Like, what if they didn't extend Herb? You know what I mean? It's kind of like I think that's one of the things that they looking at is like, bro, if we didn't extend Herb, if we didn't extend Hawkins, if we
Oh my
didn't,
god.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think they're now like it's probably if we did nothing last offseason, truly evaluate it. So let's just assume that this season is for Amanda Green and her group to truly like, look, don't do shit right now. Let me
Yeah.
truly assess before you give out
All this
extensions.
money for you wild out.
Yeah.
Let
Like
me
for
see.
example, everybody thinks Sadiq Bey deserves an extension, right?
Yeah.
But what if Sadiq Bey doesn't perform to the level that he performed last year? Just because he did it for 1 year under that coach, under like, you know,
Yeah,
because
with that
realistically,
amount of runway.
right? Because realistically, Sadiq Bey under the right circle is unless he's about to be a starter, probably won't be performing at that level. Jordan Poole wasn't playing. Like
Right.
Herb was playing bad. Like so, like
Zion had
Zion
career low
low
usage.
usage. So like, can I give Sadiq Bey $18 million and then his he revert. I don't want to say reverts, but like he just don't have the runway, and like maybe Bryce is just as valuable. Maybe like Peyton Watson can't. They trying to give Peyton Watson $16 million. So
and here's the crazy part about that. It's like
he don't know if he deserved that.
Do you have a real argument to say, aside from this is what players like me in this market get?
Yes.
Do you have a real argument to say I deserve 25, 30? You don't. Like
No.
you don't. It's just like, you know, and look, shout out to Clutch. I fucks with Clutch heavy. The Clutch is like my extended family at this point. But it's like, Peyton, you better get your ass on that court and play.
Yeah, bro. I'm just
like, you better get your ass on the court.
Yeah,
man. I'm very happy that Joe came out and did this interview. I'm happy they did it right also. I'm sure there'll probably be a follow-up at some point with Fletcher. Oh, Joe, come on the show, man. You know we fuck with you. But I'm happy because I think he addressed the topics that people wanted to hear him address.
Yes.
And I think there is some reassurance that it's like, look, we're always looking to get better. Again, Joe mentioned in one of the press conferences, he was like, we did a deal with a team in the NBA finals right now. Like they look, everyone's always looking to get better. Now, what will remain to be seen is if that's just GM talk or will we do something to actively improve the roster?
Let me ask this question too before we move on to the start questions. The move that they did make, right? Amanda Green from a structural standpoint, completely revamping the health and training division. Hiring Jamal.
Bringing in Kurt Joseph. Like they've done a ton of shit. Like this is me kind of breaking character here. I'm sorry to step on your question. It was like
no, you're good.
They've done a ton of shit. They just haven't touched the roster. They've done a ton of shit. Like, but they just haven't touched the roster just yet.
But everything that they've done impacts the roster and games played to a degree. Again, we see everybody this offseason working harder than they've worked and all of that. But you coming into the season healthy, if somehow, right, let's say hypothetically, they were able to move off of Hawkins and then two of the roster spots go to Koloko and Bufkin or Koloko and Houston, right? Which shooting in the big, not saying that is whatever.
Yeah.
But then let's say they do that and then you remove, because now you remove one of the things of the issues you had going into last season was DeJounte was out. Two of your rookies played a lot. And then you had the inconsistency with playing. Herb was bad. So like moving into this season, though, you now going into the season, my rookies not rookies.
Right.
And that includes Peavy, right? That includes Peavy. No longer rookies. And Peavy had moments. DeJounte is no longer hurt.
Yep.
We probably have spot for Eves, right? Eve, Bryce. My bad. We got Bryce starting the season. We got Bryce. We got Big. Like, so I think they're probably saying if we were to exchange Hawkins for like Koloko and let's just use Caleb Houston for right now.
Yeah.
You might feel like going into the season, a lot of the, and not saying that it's great, but a lot of the questions going into last season, just to start the season, shouldn't really be questions as of right now until you form new questions, I guess. Do that make sense? Or like how do you view that?
It makes perfect sense because you know what as you were speaking with thought, just as you were going down the roster, I was like, you know what? This team with that amount of depth on paper would be really good in the old East. Like what we've known to be the traditional Eastern Conference. Like the conference that Mosley kept making the playoffs in, the Raptors, et cetera. And it's like the good thing about that is the West is becoming the East. The West is, and now the East is becoming the West.
That's very, bro. That's a
great point. If you want to be 100% glass half full, you like, well, it's hard to argue that you don't have a roster today on paper that's not like 11 players deep. It's just, do you like all 11 and what's still missing from that group of 11? And I think,
what will determine what, like, when I don't think you're gonna truly determine what it is
Yeah.
until the games start, because
Oh yeah.
as of last year, you like, I know we need like right now, you like, I know we need shooting, but it's
No, we
like,
need shooting. No, we need rebounding.
yeah, Hawkins was unplayable. You didn't play Poole, and Herb couldn't shoot at all, and Bryce didn't start playing until last season. So it's kind of like, if Poole has a decent season and Bryce just plays more, then it's kind of like, not that you address the shooting, because I do think you still need like a knockdown
Yeah.
shooter,
What I
right?
do is shoot type shooter. Yeah.
Yeah, what I do is shoot, but like again, if I bring in Caleb Houston for those minutes or whatever the situation may be, and this motherfucker shooting like Matt Ryan was shooting, then you kind of like, all right, maybe that not solves it or whatever, but you get my point. Like maybe it just supplements it enough to get through the season till we, or start the season where I can say, oh, okay, no, like Eve is not going to do the job at rebounding, or we need, like, him and Derik can't do it, or the wings won't rebound
Right.
enough to where it's like, all right, we got to go do something about this moving forward.
Yeah, man. And I think we've talked about some of these possibilities ad nauseum as far as like guys
Mm-hmm.
performing up to par or below par.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it to me it always boils back to, well, I can't play everyone anyway.
No,
So if
no,
Caleb Houston is out there and he pissy, it's like, who minutes he taking? What's up with
exactly.
Bryce? That's why it always goes back to, like, you gotta consolidate. Shout out to
Mm-hmm.
everybody in the building, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button. We appreciate y'all joining this morning for your commute to work, school, what have you, man. We're gonna get to start questions and get out of here, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button and subscribe. We appreciate all y'all. And also make sure y'all subscribe to the new channel at Cheddar Chaz the number 9, at Cheddar Chaz the number 9. I'm on probation. I ain't even supposed to be here. But shout out to all y'all, man. Make sure y'all also tap in and subscribe to Pels in the Blender. And shout out to Bayou Sniper and his new channel. Make sure y'all tap into his new channel as well. Shout out to the homie Bayou Sniper. Boscoville Sniper in the building. He said, is there a world where Derik is a competent 5, or is he best at 4? L, what you think?
I think he's gonna be best at the 4.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I just don't think he has the size to consistently play the 5.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he could be best used at the 4 if he's doing if he's doing what he's supposed to. I think that's ideal situation for him.
Yeah. I think with players, if you're gonna be slow, you gotta be like in the front court, like at the center
Mm-hmm.
position. If you're gonna be slow, you gotta be big. Like you
Mm-hmm.
gotta be like a really tall, strong, physical player, like a Klingon or a Edie, so you can
Mm-hmm.
have at least some advantages on the opposite end. So I think for Derik, if he gets stronger, he could probably give you spot minutes at the 5, but I
Yeah.
think he'll always be best utilized at the 4.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the homie Young Illuminati in the building. He say, and shout out to Tupac today. His trial start. Say, I couldn't see teams trading for Herb, DeJounte, and Poole during the offseason. Those guys don't move the needle for teams in a positive direction. Those are all in-season trade type guys. What do you think, Al?
I think that's a good point. I think not only, again, Joe talked about like his the deals that make him better. You got to think other teams are like, why would I trade for DeJounte right now
Yeah.
without seeing him again? He's still like not far removed from the Achilles. Like you haven't seen enough of DeJounte to say, hey, let me bring this guy in. He has another player option for 30 million or whatever. Similar to Poole, do I want to give up a player worth 34 million, even if it is expiring, whatever the situation may be? A lot of those seasons are in season type deals anyway. So unless, I just think it's everybody's trying to, because right now you know how the NBA work.
Mm-hmm.
To start the season, everybody got hope, including us. Right. So like a lot of this stuff gets sorted out throughout the season when people kind of get a more defined look at what your team actually is this season.
Let me see here. And also, I mean, fuck, with all the GMs and executives that watch this show, I'm just like, you heard what Chad said about DeJounte? I'm not trading for DeJounte. shout out to my dog, just real 215. Shout out to the homie, man. He always showing love. He said, "Would y'all give up Trey for big of the future?" I don't know if I see that big. Like because I think
Mhm.
Khalil Ware could fill that box, but I wouldn't trade Trey
I
for
wouldn't
Khalil
trade Trey
Ware.
for him. Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
think
see that center right now.
bro, I honestly, and I don't know if I said this before. I'm like, I don't think the center of the center of the future for the Pels is in the league right now.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that as well. Like to me, because the only other young promising center that I see that I like aside from I like Eve of course, but
Hmm.
aside from Ware is Berenger,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't trade Trey for him. Like so,
Mm-mm.
it's
Yeah. And I like again, what does the center of the future look like? You know what I mean? Like, what are
yeah.
you like? You don't. I don't even truly know what my team is gonna be in a year or two. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I wouldn't do
boy.
it.
I wish y'all just didn't do that fucking trade, man. But anyway, I just always walk away with that thought. Waves, shout out to homie Waves, man. He said, "How do y'all feel about Mosley being able to implement this system on our roster this year? Could our players who've been used to shit coaching be able to adjust?" I would hope so. You got some
Mhm.
high basketball IQ guys, man. Got some guys that I'm sure are down on their self a little bit after what happened last year, and some guys are playing for new homes. I mean, that's another thing that kind of it wasn't necessarily mentioned or alluded to in that article, but there are guys that probably would prefer to be elsewhere, and I think those guys are gonna go out there and give it
Do
their
everything they
best
can.
go. Like for
Hmm.
like because I remember there was the thing last season. It was like Herb missed every game that he played
Until
versus
that
the
Laker
Lakers,
game.
and then he missed like buku games after that. And it's like
Hmm.
I don't think that's some coincidence. Like I don't think that was just like, oh well, yeah, that just happened. It's like nah,
Hmm.
that mother. I think that happened on purpose. I think that was intentional.
Hmm.
Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not that he missed the games afterwards because he re-aggravated his ankle in that game, but I think him
Yeah.
coming back to the Lakers in
Hmm.
particular was done
Yeah.
intentionally.
That's the
Like
game
I don't,
I'm targeting. That team loves me or whatever.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. So I haven't heard any updates on the Sadiq Bey situation just yet. Levy live. I heard. Well, I guess the most I heard is that a lot of stuff with not that the Kawhi situation is holding that up in particular, but you kind of want to know where your roster is going into next year. That way it
Hmm.
can, you could
I don't
dictate
know if
what
I'd
type of
in
money.
Sadiq Bey right now, pause.
I
To be
would.
honest, you would.
I would
I think it
because
depends on the number for me.
yeah, I mean, of course I'm not going I don't think I would go past like
Do you
18.1
think his
million.
number is coming down as like Ben don't sign, as Minga don't
Not really.
sign? Okay.
I say that because it's hard being restricted. Like
Yeah,
because
yeah, it's a
teams
tough
kind of
world.
like why would
Yeah,
I even give you any money? They just gonna match it anyway.
yeah, true.
Whereas with Sadiq, it's like again, he's another person that like yo, it would incentivize you to extend as soon as possible because if you have a down year, you coming off a $6 million deal. Right now, you should be looking at least 17 million. Like to me,
Hmm.
I think anything under 17 million for Sadiq is a steal. But
Okay.
next year you could be looking at the MLE, maybe less. You could be looking at 10 million, 12
Yeah,
million. So I would
man.
extend him though.
I wonder what their number is. I'm sure they have a number that they offering him. He probably because there's probably a number where Sadiq Bey is worth it almost no matter how he plays,
Yeah.
unless he's complete dog shit. But like maybe they arguing over the years or a player option or a team option or something
To me,
because
too much would be Herb's extension.
mm-hmm,
Perfect would be 473. 4
mm,
years, 73 million.
mm-hmm.
Really perfect would be look, like, hey
So,
Sadiq, you want to stick around? Like, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Let's do 4 years, 60. Hey, let's take this little
Mhm.
15, it'd be cool. But I would do it now because I can't have all these players on pins and needles going into next season. Because you got
Yeah.
Zion at this stage, you got Poole, DeJounte, like everybody just on pins and needles. That means everybody gonna play hard, I guess. But I don't want motherfuckers playing erratic neither. So
Mm.
that's a
Yeah.
good point though.
Good point. Hmm.
Shout out to Joe now. He said, "Would you rather Tom Dundon, who's a dirtbag but willing to take risks like Ja and getting the city to front renovations, or Joe who's moving like this?" Well, shout out to, shout out to Tom Dundon in Portland.
Got his
Um,
coach on a fucking prove it deal.
got his coach his coach on the motherfucking welfare deal. We got to do inspections. Coach on Section 8, but nah, I think the Ja
Mm.
situation. I think they had a lot to do with Nike
Hmm.
and Nike. You know, Ja being the premier Nike guy at this point, and Nike being in Portland. You know, connecting some of those
Hmm.
dots. Happy birthday to Ja Morant too. Today is his 27th birthday. So
Mm.
well, with the Pelicans, you've had owners like that. Like people don't remember Tom Benson was like, man, I'm out of here. I'm moving the Saints to San Antonio. like I remember Ray Nagin said, look, they take the team, but they can't take our name, our colors, or our players. Like, nigga, that's the team. Like that's the whole
Yeah.
motherfucking team. Like, but
Man.
yeah, I think people like history rewards winners. Like if Tom
Hmm.
Benson was winning on the way out, so we remember him fondly. But I
Yeah.
think I don't think Joe's doing anything bad. I just think that first year it was kind of a stumble out of the gates, and
Hmm.
it just magnifies the lack of action
Everything.
this year.
Yep.
So I don't think he's doing anything bad though.
Nah, I think you got time. Again, you got sometimes if you overdo something, sometimes the best way to get like right is just, hey, let me chill for a second and let this shit
Yeah,
sort let me
yeah.
let this
Let
shit
me
sort
wind,
itself out real
let the
quick.
heat die down.
Yeah, and then see what we're doing. The one thing that Griff did that I think got him into a lot of trouble is that he would make a deal, and if it didn't work out, he would pay, like he would overpay to
Correct it
not even
immediately.
correct, but like to try and at least break back even to said deal. Like I might not need to bring it. I might just need to let this shit ride out for a little bit before we have to pay more to try and
Shit,
get,
that's what
like, you
Chicago
know what I
doing.
mean? Yeah.
Patrick Williams. And ironically, I'm telling y'all, people think I'm joking. Patrick Williams would be a good fit on the Pelicans. Patrick Williams is a hell of a shooter. Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially like his for a career. It's shocking how well his career 3-point shooting is. I'm like, what the fuck? Him? But yeah.
Mm.
Shout out to Wasif. He said, can we just get Houston, Bufkin, and Koloko and just release Dickinson? Nah, Dickinson's on the two-way, bro. I don't think any
I
of
don't
those
think
guys
any of them.
qualify
Mm-hmm.
at this point for a two-way.
Yeah,
Maybe say you believe Messi will be our starting center today. I do. I
I do.
absolutely do. I think he
Mm-hmm.
better be.
I think it's clear that he's going to be the starting five. If everybody's healthy, I think he starts the season with the opportunity. I think everybody's just getting the opportunity to prove what they are to start the season. And I think him, year 3 guy, showed some promise or whatever defensively. What he does, I think it just is the most obvious choice.
Man,
Yeah. Sometimes the obvious choice is the right choice.
yeah. You know what's funny is like everything seems easy until you're in that driver's seat. From GMing to playing, because a lot of stuff. Shout out to Joe and I say, see y'all next time. See you next time, bro.
For
Um,
sure.
appreciate y'all, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button if you're still in the building. Um, yeah, man. From GMing to what we do, just all kinds of like it's easy
Yeah.
for us to get on here and say, man, we should do this. What the fuck, we ain't, But it's like Chaz, Elvin, why didn't we think of that? Of course we thought
Yeah,
of that, nigga. Like, you know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Like,
And you don't know what the calls are. Like, this is the
yeah,
thing.
we don't
When
we
you
don't know.
have to pull the trigger on something,
Yeah.
right? It's kind of like you really have to sit there and think about like, okay, should we pull the trigger on this? And like, oh, do you have time to do enough of the research? And then like, what if that dude that you was getting ready to pull the trigger on just don't like this bitch when he get here? Like, what if somebody fucked this girl? You know what I mean? Behind the scenes or something.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
And there's so many life decisions, like buying a car, buying a house, buying a number of things that you get all the way up to the line and you just like, I ain't gonna do it.
You do it.
But the only difference is in real life you have not really, but in real life you typically have an infinite amount of time to make those decisions. You can make that decision Monday, you can make it 20 Mondays from now. But you only got a summer in the NBA to do it. So that's another thing. Shout out to the homie Shaq Zilly. Say, are y'all gonna do a schedule release pod when it drops this week?
And I know for sure. I know. I'm pretty sure you're gonna be willing to do that episode. I know the schedule release is one of my favorite.
That's gonna be interesting. Yeah,
it's one of my favorite. I think I'm gonna have a more realistic approach this season. But that's gonna be fun.
Things change so fast. You like, I don't want to play none of y'all first.
Nope.
Like, no, I want to play the Warriors. I want to play the Warriors 4 times in a row first. Just to like, no Jimmy, no Moody. Just,
I'm telling you, that's the biggest thing with the schedule is like you don't know, you don't know who gonna be good or bad or like I prefer the Hornets early. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Hornets, Start us out first game of the season. Hornets and
that season opener gonna be Portland, bro. I don't know if the season opener probably be Portland and then
the Knicks.
You might end up Knicks ain't
gonna play. The Knicks probably gonna play the Spurs.
Knicks probably Spurs. Yeah, you probably get, if I just had to guess, you probably get Portland first. Then at some point you probably get the Spurs and Dallas early because you got to play them the most. And then you might get like another East team. That shit might be like Chicago or something like that because we played Chicago.
I like to play early. I wouldn't mind starting on the East.
They start us with the Grizzlies early in the season. The reason we typically started with the Grizzlies, I thought, is because they had Ja. So you got the early allure of Ja versus Zion, which is why I said Portland. So you probably get Portland, but then you're gonna end up getting Derik Queen versus Boozer. So you might get you know what I mean? I'm just saying from like how the NBA is going to look at the schedule and the names and whatnot. So I could see some of those teams. I don't think we start the biggest team. I think we start with early in the season. In the season will probably be the Spurs at some point because they in the division. The Spurs, Dallas, stuff like that.
I can see Dallas too.
We typically play Dallas a bunch of times early in the season.
Adam Silver, it's time to pass the controller, bro. You got 2 leagues in turmoil right now. It's time to pass the controller, Adam Silver. Shout out to Lee with the final question of the episode. Appreciate all y'all for tapping in. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Say, we let Jordan Hawkins go. What do you think would be our best trading option for him? Well, the most ideal trading option is just trading him into space and not having to attach an asset or taking back an asset that makes significantly less money, maybe half what he makes, right? Like if you took back AJ Johnson, for example, I think that would be probably the best you could do if you didn't have to attach an asset. What's most realistic is that as well, I think.
Yeah.
Al, your thoughts?
Based off of the conversations, if I turned Jordan Hawkins into Ben Mathurin, I ain't mad. But ideally, I won't lie, like if they just traded him into space and that allowed you to bring Buffkin and another one of those players that they're bringing in for the camp deal in, I wouldn't be overly upset with that either because I think you could bring them or, some of these new players that they considering coming back into the league for a minimum. I wouldn't be upset at something like that also.
Yeah, man. Shout out to big badass Ben Simmons, man. Ben
Yeah, man.
Simmons trying to come back. This remind me of boxers. Sometimes you see them training, they back, they in the best shape of their life. Look like boy, them motherfuckers get in that ring. You say, oh,
Shit.
ooh.
Yeah, my hit harder than I remember.
Yeah, boy, something different about you.
Yeah.
But man, shout out to everybody. Bill, L, tell the people they can find you at, bro.
As always, man, Pals in the Blender on YouTube, bro. Y'all catch me at Just A Davis on X, man. Appreciate y'all.
Yes, indeed, man. Tap in Cheddar Chaz on all platforms, man. Also, make sure y'all go add the new channel, Cheddar Chaz 9, on YouTube. That's CHEDDACHAZ, the number 9 as a 9 ward. So I'm gonna try to stay as active as possible. Shit getting real, doing some other stuff now, but we appreciate all y'all support, man. Shout out to Joe Dumars and Rod Walker for a nice interview today, man. Start the week off right. And y'all have a good week, man. Shout out to everybody. And stay blessed, stay out the way, and go Pels, man. Appreciate all y'all. Peace.
Like I had the lotto. I'm coming through like 100 doing this 1 or 2s. You don't know if the smoke from the gun I told, from the blunt I blew. Got them sick as the flu. Cause this she be humming too. Got your chicken in here and she think it's the tension in here. When the enemy near, what the you wanna do? I'm a G.